Good morning, dear students. Once again, welcome back to the English literature class. Today, we are continuing with the same poem, unit number 6, and the title of the poem is Daffodils, written by William Wordsworth. Do you remember what we were discussing in the previous classes? In the previous classes, we were discussing about the different literary devices used in the poem. And there we have seen about the themes used in the poem, then the different styles used by the author to beautify the poem. And now we are going to the third part under the literary devices, that is critical remarks. Critical remarks regarding the poem. So without wasting time, let's move to the class. Critical remarks. The first critical remarks regarding the poem is background to romanticism. One of the main factors when we study about this poem, we have to keep in our mind this poem is written in a romantic mood. So romanticism starts from 1790 to 1830. So it was the period. During this period, romantic poems started to made by the authors. So this 1719 to 1830, this particular duration of years is being known as romantic period. And there was a reason behind it. So if there is a new growth in any field, it was me due to some of the reasons. Without any reasons, no changes are taking place in the world. So this new concept regarding the literature started to emerge, or it generated or took birth due to some changes. What was that? Change from agriculture to industrialization. The occupation of the people changed from agriculture to industrialization. So once when there was a rapid growth in the industrial field, people migrated from village to city. Because in industrial city, they were in need of laborers, human power. So in order to meet the needs of the industrialists, the people migrated from village to city for better facilities and for better living conditions. So once when people migrated from village to city, it influenced all the different sectors of the society. That's why the entire atmosphere of the city has got changed. And even in the field of literature, there were a lot of changes, and one of the most important change in the literature took place. That was the beginning of romanticism in poems. So we have already seen this name, this title, romanticism, in different places, but I hope that you might not have a very clear idea about it. What is meant by romanticism? Romanticism means emphasized strong feelings, imagination and nature. So what is actually meant by romanticism? When a writer or when a poet creates a poem, in his poem he will be giving more emphasis to strong feelings, imagination and the influence of nature. We have already seen number of elements regarding this particular poem, that in this poem the author has used different images. Images I have told you, like stars, then sky, then valleys, hills, then different elements, the lake, beneath the lake, etc. Number of words, number of images used by the author. What's the reason behind it? When it is mixed with nature, it will be coming under the concept or the theory or the criteria of romantic poems. Okay, so romanticism means emphasize in a poem, and emphasis is given to strong feelings, imaginations and nature. Classical age preceded the romantic age. So before the coming of romanticism or the romantic age, what was existing? There was classical age. So from the classical type of poem, it led to the beginning of emergence of romantic age. What was the reason behind it? Because classical age or classical type of poems were giving importance to reason and order. But in the case of romantic period or romantic poems, it has given importance to strong feelings, senses, and imagination. So this is what was the reason behind it. So classical age, when it has given importance to reason and order, romantic poems has given importance to strong feelings, senses, and imagination. Of course, once it is related to strong feelings, of course, it will come from the heart. That was the reason behind it. The poems made by the romantic poets, it was really able enough to influence the readers, influence the audience, rather than the classical poems. That was the one another important points regarding the critical remarks, romantic elements in the poem used by the authors. Mainly the romantic poems or the romantic poets were writing their poems with their heart, because their poems were coming from their heart. That was the difference. But in the other case, classical poems, it was based on, they have given importance to reason and order. So that was the difference between these romantic poems and classical poems. Of course, rather than the classical poems, the romantic poems has got popularized, and the people started to listen as well as recite or enjoy the romantic poems. Third point is a poet of nature. The speciality of William Wordsworth, he is a poet of nature. He has made a number of poems, and in all the poems, one of the main subject or content of the poem is about the nature. Let's see. The beginning of the poem, the particular poem which we are going to study, Daffodils. It starts like, I was wandering like a cloud. He wanders like a cloud. And then what happens? Then he saw the daffodils. So, what is the speciality of cloud? It is a comparison. And what is a comparison? Clouds are always considered as lonely. It's an image of loneliness. So here, I wanders like a cloud means there is no direction to where it is going. There is no idea, no decided, no prepared plan. Nothing is there. According to the breeze, it is moving. So very carelessly, very lazy. So in such a way, the cloud was moving, floating in the air. So here the author says that I was wandering like a cloud. He was expressing his loneliness to the reader. So once when he was experiencing his loneliness, he saw the daffodils. Okay, once when he saw the daffodils, then what happened? There he describes its beauty in different manners. So he was wandering lonely like a cloud. Then he saw the daffodils, and then he is explaining its beauty to the reader in different manners. He has used different techniques, different methods, different symbols, imagery, number of things he used. By using different manners, he explained its beauty. And now the mood changes from loneliness to happiness. So when he was not enjoying the nature, he was feeling loneliness. Now once when he started to enjoy the beauty of nature, his loneliness changes to happiness. So that's why he's a poet of nature. Without any doubt, we can say that he is a poet of nature. Fourth point says William Wordsworth's poetic theory. He illustrates, William Wordsworth, or through his poem Daffodils, illustrates the theory of poetic creations, which means for him, poem is the spontaneous flow of emotions. So suppose, according to the concept of William Wordsworth, poem must not come from reason and order. We have already seen this concept, because according to the classical age of poetry, poem must come from reason and order, which means we have to plan out everything, we have to decide the words, we have to make sure how many number of lines we need, we plan out everything, and according to that we prepare a poem by following all the rules and regulations. But here, Wordsworth, according to the concept of Wordsworth, poem is a spontaneous flow of emotions. Because the poem itself is a best example. What's the speciality of the poem? He was wandering like a cloud, loneliness. And once he experienced, or once when he seen that number of daffodils in a particular area, his pensive mood or his loneliness mood is getting changed into happiness. And once when he become happy, the poem is flowing from his heart. It's coming out of his heart, spontaneously flowing it from the heart, from his feelings. So that's why for him, poem is the spontaneous flow of emotions, free expression of feelings and thoughts. Okay, and it is not depending on any kind of rules and regulations. It is not depending on any kind of reason, order, but rather than that, it is a free expression of feelings and thoughts. And the fifth point says that background of the poem. Once when we study this poem, we must know the background of the poem. William Wordsworth, as we have already seen, he is a man who was writing poems about nature. If he wants to write, or if we want to write a poem about nature, of course, we must have experience. So William Wordsworth was having number of experiences, and from his experience, he was writing number of poems. But he was not only depending his own experience for writing poems, but what he did, sometimes he was borrowing concepts or borrowing memories from her sister's diary. So that's why in this case, or in the case of this poem, the poem is written not only just from his own experience. Because once when we go through the poem, we can understand the poem is telling about an experience which he had when he was walking with his sister. So he read the diary of his sister, and it is the recapture of the poet, which means he was already having this concept in his heart, in his mind, years before. So once when he, by chance, when he read the diary of his sister, he got that memory back. He recaptured his memory. On the basis of that, he has written the poem Daffodils. So dear students, I hope that you have got some idea about the critical remarks regarding the poem. With this, we are winding up today's class. In the next class, we will be beginning the poem. Still then, I would like to sign off. Thank you.